Welcome to the Contractors Corner podcast. I'm excited to have Joe Boone from Big House Construction back with us, so thank you.
I appreciate you having me, Keren.
Yeah, I'm excited to dig into like where we left off. I know you brought up the Abraham Lincoln quote, and we talked about how being a salesman is like being an athlete.
Yeah.
I loved all of that. So maybe just a kind of a summary on all of that. But I have the actual quote this time.
Yeah, I
'Cause-
looked it up too. I was
Yeah.
like, I got it all wrong.
Yes, it says, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe."
Yep.
That's great. Can you, and then we also talked about the book, The Power of One More. I know that has been a big impact on your life. Like,
Absolutely.
even your signature had a quote from him. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit more about the book. I don't feel like you gave me enough last time.
Ed Milet's book.
Yes.
I mean, it's just his story, and that's kind of the final message: is the power of one more, the power of one more conversation. Insert whatever it is in your business. Is it door knocking? Is it email blasts? Is it whatever the case? If you're a networker, how many people are you talking to? And that next conversation could be life changing. That next door knock could be life changing. It could be the sale that you've been looking for. You've been dry for 6 weeks and you finally get one. You know what I mean? For me, it's a similar approach. With when we do door knocking, the next one could be the one. But
Right.
there's always that in your head, they're not going to say yes. Because, like we talked about before, subconscious is all about protection and rejection is failure. It feels bad when someone says no.
Yes.
So most
Have you
people,
had that experience before? Like,
people saying no?
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
with the door knocking specifically.
I had a guy try and fight me.
I bet people get mad. Like,
Oh,
what are you
it's
doing here?
crazy. Oh, yeah. So this specific one I'm talking about, we were in a neighborhood in Marietta, and people have no soliciting signs on their door. But, it's just a conversation, and we don't sell anything at the door. It's just, hey, do you want an inspection? The pitch is a little bit different than that, but I'm not selling anything. I'm actually doing something at cost for me. It costs money to do all that stuff. It's a intro to potentially get business. The guy's like, hey, can you read? And he did it very much more rude than that, And then he stepped up to me.
Oh,
And I
gosh.
was like, listen, man, I can read.
Yeah.
If you don't want me here, just say that and I'll walk away. Have a nice day. But he did not like that, and he got angry. I was like, I'm just going to go away, man. Have a nice one.
Oh, man.
So, like, I guess my point there is if you let those experiences form your expectation for the next one, have you heard of prediction theory?
No.
So prediction theory is basically what you think you become, what you think of manifests in your life. It's that kind of broad spectrum theory. And basically, if I think I'm going to get no's, I'm either not going to do it, so I'm going to get a big no, or I'm going to go up to that door with no confidence, and they're going to not have any confidence in me, and they're going to give me a no. So it's all about the expectations you have in your own mind for what's going to happen. Because if I'm optimistic and I'm happy and I'm all these kind of things, whether it's door knocking or any form of communication, you're going to have a different outcome in that situation.
And what do you do to not let that get you down? Like, is there some
It's
kind of
tough.
to go to the next one and be like, optimistic about it, even though
It
you
sounds
got
easy, right? You're
Yeah.
like, oh, just be happy and positive. And when all these people tell you no, it's not easy. You have to have systems in place, especially if you're someone who gets in your head. And that's most of us. I get in my head. Everyone has bad days, bad weeks, bad months. You just got to have a system to get out of that. I do a lot of journaling, and I read a lot in my Bible. I pray a lot. So if I'm out doing something where it's tough and I know that there's potential rejection, I have my affirmations that I keep with me. They're actually on my phone.
Okay.
I have a
Yeah,
whiteboard
share.
at home.
You should share one of those affirmations with us.
I can, yeah. I have this whiteboard at my house.
Okay.
So I just take a picture of it because then I can just remind myself. Yeah, I'll read the first one.
Yeah.
I'm the most valuable person in the room no matter what. So all that is because I'm very self-critical.
I
I
think
don't,
we all can be.
yes,
Really.
100%. All of us are. But the reason I have that one as the first one is because it's not about being better than everyone in the room. It's about valuing myself enough to know that I deserve to be in that room or to be in front of that person or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome is huge, especially for entrepreneurs, business owners, that kind of thing. You know, if you're small, up and coming, and you're looking at your competition, they're $1 million, $10 million, $100 million business. Do I deserve to be in this room? Absolutely. But if you don't believe that, if you don't have that self-worth, you'll think you're not. Prediction theory again, and you won't get the business you need to stay in that room.
Yeah.
And then you'll ultimately cause yourself, through your own mind, to be forced out of that room.
It's crazy how powerful our minds are. Like, we're in control in our spirit, and it's like what you feed it,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so those affirmations are helping you to believe in yourself, and through
Yeah.
prayer and journaling.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's not something I come up with overnight, right? This
Yeah.
isn't but when I first wrote that one, I was like, that sounds so conceited. I really just started to process, like, God put that on my heart to write that as my first affirmation. And I just started to process it. Why did he want me to put that down? And it is because I have a hard time valuing myself. Some people that know me like, I would never think that. But it's because I put that system in place to make sure that I do value myself. And
Is this something you share in the culture of Big House, like with the sales team?
100%.
Do they do similar things? How do they deal with the rejection of door knocking? And, is it just...
It's got to come back to culture. So if you're by yourself, it's one thing. But if you have a group, it's all about culture. So I teach everything in that binder and more. But the biggest thing is, if you get a no, how do you handle it? If you handle it poorly and you come back in the truck, now you bring negativity in the truck or the car, what happens to the rest of the team? If there's not a good team there, everyone falls apart. If there is a good team, you say, hey, man, hey, how'd that go? Because they see it on everybody, right? And like, all right, tell me how it went, and then let them show each other a win. Because it's really hard to see a win when you get a no, but there's always a win. You just have to look for it. But as far as teaching that in the sales training, I don't specifically say, hey, this is what you do to get your wins. It's just more of when X happens, where's the rest of the team? That's all it comes back. Like when I was in the Marine Corps, it's all unit based. If you can't rely on left and right, then the whole unit falls apart. It's the same concept. So if you have someone get in your face, you have someone slam the door, you have all these different things, where's the win? Well, I can tell you when a door gets slammed in your face, if you don't get really, really mad, that's a win. So just, hey, you actually went to the door. That's a win. Most people are like, oh, but I got this result. So you still went.
Yeah.
99% of other people would never go to a door that they don't know. So it's
true.
Reminder of, perspective, I guess, is the best way to put it. And we just teach them to operate as a unit.
Do you feel like you have a winning mentality, a winning mindset?
Try to.
Yeah.
Try to.
You mentioned a quote in the back of the sales book. What was it again? About winning. You said it was at the end of the sales book.
For this one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let me see. I mean, one of my things is everybody's a winner. Yeah. Only winners win because winners decided they could win before the game even started. Actually, so I don't know if you pay a lot of attention to Facebook, but I
do.
Yeah. I write these really long posts, and I actually made one just about that same topic today. But it's all about perception. Like, there are objective objective reasons for someone to be a winner or a loser. You know, the participation trophy is a terrible idea because you're not incentivizing people to go out and pursue the betterment of themselves, a team. If it's a team sport, you know, everybody working together towards a common goal. Like there's just so many reasons for that. I say that all to say you can lose in objective measures and still be a winner because you push through that game, that inning, whatever it was. As far as like the winner's mindset, same thing with the team, the door knocking team. If someone gets a no, okay, did you actually go to the door? Did you do something hard? Mm-hmm. That's a win. Okay, so just do more of those and you'll get a yes.
I have a friend that always says, like, just get 1% better every day, you know? Yep. And it's so true. I mean, at least you're alive and you get the opportunity to go out and potentially meet someone. They might answer the door and maybe they won't, but it also takes, you know, some guts to do and go out and sell.
But when you're doing things like that, you're measuring the wins on a different level. Mm-hmm. Because you're not looking at someone who doesn't do it. Because someone that doesn't do it looks at going to a door as an impossible feat. But you forget that and you lose perspective on what you're actually doing because you're looking at what's the next step. The next step is a yes. The next step is getting a customer or whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. You're forgetting, or, you know, in the moment, you lose perception on your previous state where maybe in our case, you worked in a restaurant and you had a steady income on, you know, whatever the case is, like, you know, if they come from a factory job, now you're out doing your own thing. So I'm losing because I got said no to. Aren't I winning because I'm out creating what I want to create instead of working inside of a system, someone's own business where I'm expendable? Mm-hmm. It's all perception.
Yeah, I do like your long Facebook posts. Have you gotten some comments like people kind of challenging you, or no? Everybody's been pretty receptive.
Well, I don't know. But I don't post that much, so I don't think the algorithm really pushes my stuff.
Oh, okay.
And it's so long that I know that barely anybody reads it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I read it. And I like, even like off camera, last time you were telling me about how like the 5 people that you surround yourself with, like it has to do a lot with like what you're taking in. Can you expand a little bit about what you were telling me there?
So we talked about it, but you know, there's this common term, especially in the business entrepreneurial space. You're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Mm-hmm. I argue that you're the sum of the content you consume. And I think there's a lot of internet businesses that utilize this for one means or another. And it's not the 5 people you spend time around. That used to be the case because we used to be very community-based and it was just people.
Right.
You didn't have a phone that had 1,000 people in your contacts or whatever, you know, wherever you're consuming and talking to people. Because every time any messages are consumed by your ears and then your subconscious, you're getting some type of processing in the subconscious where it's like, all right, is this information valid? Well, if I hear it 100 times, it starts to become valid. So whatever I'm seeing on Facebook, Instagram, the news, the people around me, if people still look at newspapers, the newspaper, it's like it's all about the content, like what podcasts are being listened to, what music's being listened to. There are messages in every piece of content that we listen or hear or see.
And everything's at our fingertips, and there's like so much content out there. And there's some people that also just like consume the news too much, and then that's all they're feeding back, like when they're talking to someone too. So you have to be careful of like what you're taking in, because then at the same time you're pouring that out, like when you're speaking.
So I think one of my big basis of that thought process is I forget the name and the title, but he was part of the Nazi regime. And And he said, if you say a lie 1,000 times, it becomes the truth. So what does that really come down to? It's if you hear a message enough, no matter its truthfulness or if it's false, it has validity because you continue to hear it and hear it and hear it and hear it. So even if you don't believe something, but if you hear it 1,000 times, you start to believe it.
Yes.
But you don't even know why. Like if you hear the world is this terrible place, this country is so terrible, 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 and that's all the news tells you, but you've never been there. You've never talked to someone that lives there. And then, 10 years later you go and for some reason it's not what you were told.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like
All that was.
misconception.
So where's the takeaway? The takeaway is if you really want to be successful in life and you want to be focused on the right things, then consume the right types of content. Because I can be told that it's really hard to start a business, and I can believe that and never start. Or I can think positively and talk to people who've had success and find out why they were successful and get the content from them that I need to believe in my ability to do that. And then I'll go out and do it and not make the mistakes that they did. Because, it is hard to start a business. No matter what you do, it's hard to start a business.
Yeah.
But you can learn from people who've already done it.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing about good content is that if you're searching for the right answers, they're out there for you to find, like how to start a business.
Absolutely. The passive consumption of content is the death of your potential because you're not controlling what your subconscious is holding on to.
Yeah. And in the sales book, I glanced at it, like you talked about like the 8 subconscious.
Yeah.
Expand a little bit about that.
So in a sale, we've got six reasons people buy, and it's the 6 things that people buy. Because they don't buy a roof, they don't buy marketing services. They buy what you provide in certainty. And we're not going to go in depth on them, but then they're not actually buying a roof from me. Their number one reason they're buying is because they're certain that I can get the job done. They're not buying, they're not buying the fact that I can do the roof. They're buying the fact that I can change the identity of their home, and their identity is tied to their home. If they know their home looks bad, and I can say, hey, we can do this and make your house look good. Subconsciously, this isn't a conscious thought, but subconsciously they're like, oh, my neighbors will see my new roof. Mm-hmm. Like nobody ever thinks that, but that's what's going on in the back of their head. It's an identity thing.
Yeah.
That's just one example. But the 8 subconscious touch points are just ways to navigate those. So you've got money, time, spouse, a couple others, but the biggest thing is certainty. Are they certain you can do it? Mm-hmm. So I teach a certain way for an insurance job because insurance is different than retail, and then a specific way to do it with retail. Because if someone calls me out and says, hey, I have a problem, all right, well, you got to talk about the budget. Because number one objection, too much money. So if you can touch all those subconscious touch points and get them to answer the questions that you needed them to answer, you can go back and remember when you said, this is something you guys have been thinking about for 2 years and you don't want to wait anymore, but they told you they want to think about it. Mm-hmm. And if you reply that back to them, like, I did say that.
Yeah, like touching on the pain points of like, I really need this right now. And so handling those objections when it comes to money. The good thing is there's like those insurance options that I'm sure someone doesn't have like a bunch of money laying around and they're just thinking, I can't wait to buy a roof with it,
Introduce me to those people.
Right? I think they'd rather spend it on a cruise or something fun with their family.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
For just for sales in general, you've got 4 objections. There's they come in different forms, but they all come down to spouse, so support, time, money, and then the last one is
I'm quizzing
belief.
You on your own,
Yeah.
on your own thing.
Yeah. Belief.
Belief.
So you've got 4 objections, but most objections aren't real objections. There are questions that haven't been answered, and the homeowner or the prospect is not willing to ask the question because they don't want you to answer it. You know, so you have to pull it out. You got to ask the strategic questions. So if I have someone say, "Oh yeah, sounds great. I just need to talk to my husband. I just need to talk to my wife." It's not true. They've made a decision and they're putting it on their spouse. So
It's like a way out.
yeah, I don't have to tell you no, because telling you no makes me feel bad. I feel like I'm the bad guy. So if someone says that to me, more specifically, if a husband says wife, I say, okay, I totally understand. What do you think your wife would think about the process so far? Because he's going to say his answer, which is actually what he's thinking. Well, she would say this. Oh, cool. Why would she say that? Because of A, B, and C. And that sounds very textbook. It's not, it's not going to go that way every single time.
Right.
But if you do that every time you get a spouse objection, what do you think he would think? What do you think she would think? Then you're going to get their answer and you're going to continue the conversation. Because like we talked about, being in sales is your sport. The ability to take a pivot when they say, oh, I got to talk to this person. Oh, that's too much money. Oh, I don't have the time right now. Or some other version, which becomes belief. If you know the questions to ask, you can continue the conversation. That's accuracy. That's agility.
Right.
That's precision in your sport of sales, in your sport of conversations. So, I have a formula. So it's, if they have an objection, if it's a real objection, you say, agree with them. Oh yeah, I totally understand. Relate with them. That's exactly what I would do. And then ask a question. Because you bring down the wall. If I say, oh, it's going to be $15,000 for your retaining wall or whatever it is. Oh, it's too much money. But I hit my 8 touch points and we talked about money and they're interested in financing. I say, well, I totally understand, but we talked about financing earlier. Didn't you want to go down that route? We can have a conversation about what it would cost to finance the job. Based on what we've talked about, I think we can probably do $150 a month. Now I've removed the money objection, if they're willing to go down that. But if I don't touch it in the 8 points in my framework, I can't have that conversation, and then I lose that sale completely. And they go shop me out and get someone else that might do the same job, but if I really believe in what I'm doing, I should not allow that to happen.
And how long have you been doing this? Like you said, you've been with Big House for like 2.5 years?
Year and a half.
A year.
Yeah.
And before that, you shared the last time that you worked for.
I was in HVAC sales.
Yes.
Yeah, I was in HVAC sales, and then prior to that, I did personal training sales, and prior to that, I worked for Colonial Pipeline, running refined petroleum up and down the East Coast.
So when someone new comes on to your current team, like how long does it take them to kind of grasp these concepts? Because you kind of have to, like, if they're not naturally a positive person, for example, is that something that can easily be kind of like retrained in a way?
Yes and no. As you know, you see people cycle in and out of the business groups. Those people may be doing great and now they don't have time, but there are people that, they try and start a business or they try and do this and it just falls off because they don't have the space between their ears dialed in. Positivity being part of that. So we look for certain things when we prospect. We don't just hire anybody. Wish we could and just have an army of salespeople and you'd be taking over the roofing market for the Atlanta area. But you have to have certain skill sets or certain potentials, to be worth putting time into.
On there, I saw quickly too that it was like maybe four different personality types.
Yeah, they're very general. And this is for sales. It's not like some psychoanalytical thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I put prospects into 4 personalities, and they're animals. So it just makes it easy for people to remember. And, it's a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Most people are a bull or a sheep. And then you've got a tiger and an owl. But everyone's like different versions of these. And this is a common thing if you looked at sales training. There's a bunch of them. You got the color system and a bunch of others. But,
Sure.
Sheep is someone like your grandmother. They'll say yes to everything, but they also don't have confidence in you or themselves to do the thing. Whatever. If it's roofing, like, oh, I don't know about you. So the thing they need is confidence. So knowing that, then you hit the 8 touch points or whatever within the 8 touch points to make sure they have confidence and certainty. A lot of this goes back to certainty. And then bulls are your ego, slam the door in your face. I don't need you. I can do it myself. Mm-hmm. Tiger is a very unpredictable type, very rare. They'll tell you yes, and then they meant no. So like I've had where, yeah, let's do the inspection. I get down and they immediately say, I'm not interested anymore.
Oh no.
Yeah, stuff like that.
That stinks.
Well, it's, when you have to expect that in door knocking, because they didn't call you out. So they have no obligation to work with you. So if you don't expect to be told no, even in that far in, you've set yourself up for failure in your head. I had one scenario, you just have to laugh at it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to go crazy. Mm-hmm. I was training a new guy and had him knock the door, and he got a yes. I didn't talk to the homeowner. Mm-hmm. I was just setting up the ladder. I was going to go do the inspection. And before I get to the gutter line, someone comes out, just starts yelling at me. What are you doing? I'm inspecting the roof. My guy just talked to you guys, and we're going to do the roof inspection. Blah blah. She just keeps yelling, "Get off my roof!" So I get down, and her father had answered the door, and he has dementia.
Oh.
So, like, you never know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. You never know what happened behind the door. Maybe someone said yes and they went inside and were talking to their spouse and they said no, tell them no. So it's not up to us to make those decisions. We just have to roll with the punches when they come.
Yeah.
But it's if you know the personality types and kind of the tendencies, it's easier to deal with people and understand what they really need to move forward if it's the right move for everybody.
Mm-hmm. And what other things are in your sales guide that you just finished?
Yeah. I've got how to handle objections, and a lot of this comes back to mindset, because if you give power to an objection, it becomes an objection, but if you don't, then it doesn't. So you answer questions surrounded like belief. They don't believe in me. Why don't they believe in me? It's because I didn't do what I was supposed to on the front end of the conversation. So most objections are avoidable. If you get to objections, you just got to know the formula. Agree, relate, ask a question. It's very simple. Most people are like, oh, okay, they don't want to do business. They're gone. Or they try and justify. Oh, you should do business with us because of this. It looks desperate. It also looks like you're trying to pull something over them. Like, oh yeah, well why are you guys $10,000 more? Or whatever the case is. And you're like, oh, well, you have these different things that come out when you're trying to justify a sale. So I teach a lot of question-based stuff, and the tonality and tempo of the way someone talks to a homeowner is critical. So you have the 4 S's: soft, slow, short, and simple. It's just soft, slow, short. If I talk really fast, really loud, that customer's not going to like me. But, if I'm, well, hey, I totally understand. It's a lot of money. Why don't we talk about that? What did you guys think this was going to cost? Did you think it was going to be $5,000 less? Like, did you actually do a budget on it? Oh, no, we never did a budget. Oh, okay, so that's where we're at. well, listen, this is what it costs. If you guys want to move forward, we have financing, we have this, you know, but if you talk fast, you're like, well, we can do this and this and this, instead of standing on your value. Because if you provide value in the marketplace, then your price point is your price point is your price point, and you shouldn't waver on it.
Yes.
So I teach the 4 S's. I teach tonality, so it's assertive. There's a lot of tonalities, and obviously a conversation flows. So like I'm gonna be empathetic when I need to be empathetic. I'm gonna be positive when I need to be positive. I'm gonna show that I care. But at the bottom line for a sale, for someone to be successful in sales, is to assert that what they have is the solution. So if you have assertive tonality and you use the 4 S's, then you're good. But I see a lot of salespeople talk themselves out of a sale. So that's the short in the 4 S's. Here's what I can do for you. As quick as you can, make it easy for the homeowner to, consume the information.
And that also goes back to like what you said. I mean, it requires a lot of confidence too. Like you have to be confident on what you're selling. You can't just be like, and then you can easily just, go the other way if they give you a no, because you already went into it not being super confident about it.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things is confidence. Because if you don't have confidence in yourself, how can you go into a position where you're trying to sell stuff? You're selling yourself. Mm-hmm. So back to your point with, a new person that comes in, if they don't have self-confidence, I can't help them with that. Not truly, not deeply, because we can only do so much.
Right. That makes sense.
It's there's things that you can learn and there's things that you can't learn. Self-worth is a long process. If you want to try and learn self-worth in a place where you're getting told no every day, that's a tough person. Mm-hmm. So self-worth is one of the critical things that someone needs to be successful in a door-to-door sales. I mean, same thing if you're cold calling people. Same thing if you're doing anything like that where there's rejection as a possibility. But back to your point, I mean, if you have self-worth, if you can be confident in yourself, if you have charisma, then you can learn everything you need to learn outside of that.
Mm-hmm. And I love that you have this guide as a helpful tool to I think it's really necessary. Like, I hope that other contractors out there maybe listening to this, they could reach out to you. This is something that you're now going to be offering outside of, big house construction.
Absolutely. So anybody with a sales team, this sales is how you feed your business. I mean, obviously there are other aspects mm-hmm. to that, but the sales team is they're the infantry, so to speak. And yeah, I'm offering sales teaching in different forms depending on what the needs of the company are. So
okay. What's the best way to reach you for that specifically?
Yeah, just email or a phone call. I can get that info to you, and if you want to put it in the.
Okay, that would be great.
But yeah, happy to help anybody really in the contracting space, because that's where I come from, HVAC and roofing. Mm-hmm. So I know how to talk to homeowners.
Yeah, I mean, before you told me, in 4 months, how much money did you
I brought in $500,000 on door knocking.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So my thing is, if I can get 10% greater revenue for a company without changing anything else in their business, then we're good. But I feel like that's very doable, because sales isn't something that is really leaned on heavily in the contracting space outside of roofing. Like roofing is, the sales team, that's how they run their business. But there's a lot of people that, it's 1, 2, 3 people on the, they got production guy, they got a technician, and maybe one salesperson. And there's not a lot of time to go into training for that salesperson. So that's my goal, is to help those types of companies to grow. Especially with the economy the way it is, it's harder to get customers to say yes.
Yeah, and being in the marketing space, things are also shifting. When Google's algorithm, and if you don't have to you don't have the ad spend, for example, to spend on those Google ads.
Yeah.
Well, why not like train your in-house team to
Yep.
be better at sales and equip them, and then in that sense, like you're investing that money in your own
Yes.
team.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah, it's my opinion, just coming from the team environment, from the Marine Corps and everything, that your people are your biggest asset. I mean, you can have all the ads you want. Your marketing's great. It is.
Yeah.
But if you, like, the face-to-face is so much more powerful. If you do get an ad, or you do get a lead from an ad, what happens to it? What's the next step? Okay, great. You spent $10,000 this month on marketing and you got X amount of leads. But how many did you close? Because that's really the bottom line, is if you don't close those deals, then you might as well not have spent that marketing. You know what I mean?
And then people get mad at you because they're paying you to get leads and then they can't close them, or, it's the wrong lead or it's spam, and,
Yeah.
you don't have control of that.
Yeah. We've dealt with that, trying to do different lead providers for roofing leads. And it's like, okay, you sold these leads to 10 other roofing companies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's,
I mean, do you feel like it's a competitive market too? Like the roofing industry as a whole?
absolutely. That's why direct to customer is so powerful.
Yeah.
Even direct to customer, you're going to get shopped out sometimes.
Yeah, of course.
It's like, oh, I got this thing going on. Let me see what another roofer will give me. Then you got to handle that. But if you don't know how to handle it, it's gone.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, thank you for sharing, some of what's in there, and just sharing a lot of good advice. I hope that people can take it and run with it, and also reach out to you for if they're local to the Canton area.
Yeah.
I mean, are you willing to travel outside of the state to train a good?
It depends
well-
on the needs of the organization, if it makes sense. Depending on the size of the company.
Yeah.
You just have to discuss what it would look like. I mean,
Okay.
at this point, it's going to be customized to the needs of the client.
That's awesome.
Someone's got a $100 million sales team. It's going to be a little bit different than a $1 million sales team.
Sure.
What they need.
You gotta listen to what their goals are too, and implement that. Okay.
Because sometimes you have leadership issues and you have sales issues. So it just depends on what they need in that space.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And
Thank you
thank you for everybody listening, and hopefully you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks.